Hello, hockey fans, and welcome to part 2 of our look at the great Peter Stastny. In part 1, we looked at Peter's journey from growing up in the communist regime of his home country, Czechoslovakia, yet he's become one of the nation's best hockey players, accomplishing many accolades as part of their national team. He accomplished 2 World Championship golds, 2 silvers. He's a finalist of the first ever Canada Cup in 1976, and for his team, Slovan Bratislava, in 1979, won a league championship. And he also played in the Olympics in 1980. But he longed for more. He longed for a better life, as he indeed defected from his country to Quebec City, Quebec, Canada, in a very epic journey. And he signed a deal with the Quebec Nordiques, who were just ready for their second NHL season after years of success in the WHA. And he made a huge splash. The team looked like they were going nowhere, and despite how well he was playing even early on in the season, they were near the bottom of the league in the standings for the 1980-81 season. But by the new year, they brought it together. They finished with a decent record and made the playoffs the first time in their very short NHL history. Peter, of course, set records. Points by a rookie in a season with 109, smashing the previous record of 95. He and brother Anton were both part of a rare list of players who recorded back-to-back hat tricks and boasted an NHL record for 14 points over the course of 2 games. They also tied the second best mark in NHL history with 8 points each in the same game. Oy, oy, oy. They put up a fight against a heavily favored Flyers team in the opening round of the playoffs. Despite losing the best-of-5 series, Peter averaged 2 points a game in those playoffs. And to top it off, won the Calder Trophy as the league's top rookie, as he, along with other young talent on the Nords, give hope for a big future. But of course, there's always that sophomore pressure. As we approach the 1981-82 season, many wonder what will Peter do next. Can he avoid that sophomore jinx that so many athletes have fallen under? And some also ask, what happened with the Nordiques last year? Was it a fluke? Also, the NHL has realigned the league and switched to a divisional playoff format. 4 divisions, 2 in each conference, the Wales and the Campbell Conference. Top 4 teams in each division make the playoffs. The Nordiques are part of the Adams Division in the Wales Conference. Joining them in the division are their former WHA counterparts, the Hartford Whalers, so as the Buffalo Sabres and Boston Bruins, who are consistently playoff contenders, and of course, the Montreal Canadiens. Things are about to get very interesting in that regard. Also, can General Manager Maurice Fillon and Coach Michel Bergeron keep things flowing and building? While expectations among analysts and pundits weren't exactly high, they weren't exactly low either, and many felt they were a team that just needs to keep growing and progressing. They had the young talent to do it. Peter, along with Anton, of course, as well as Michel Goulet, Dale Hunter, and Réal Cloutier, showed the young talent was there. Veteran and legendary Nordiques forward Marc Tardif still has something to offer. But what about the defense? Normand Rochefort, Mario Marois, and Pierre Lacroix are an ambitious bunch. But they do have their goalie, veteran Dan Bouchard, who made a huge impact joining the team after a trade during the last season. But there is a new addition to this Nordique squad as well. And that would be Marian Stastny, the oldest of the Stastny trio. He will join his brothers this season as a member of the Quebec Nordiques. He too made several plans for he and his family for their defection from Czechoslovakia, and it hit a few speed bumps as well, but it came to fruition thanks to team president and CEO Marcel Abou help making it happen with his connections. Marian was 28 years old already, but wanted to finish his career with his brothers, and he wanted to play in the NHL, and it was a glorious moment for all of them to be reunited. And also, Filion Ambrughi felt that this is the perfect way to help the team's progress and future. But a lot of people knew Peter was likely going to be the leader of it all. And without any further ado, here we go. In the Stastny trio's first game together in the NHL, it gave the hometown fans in Le Colisée a treat when the season began on October 6, 1981. Goulet had already scored 2 to put them up front 2-0 in the season/home opener against the Whalers. But with 3:03 left in the first period, Marian takes the puck, he gets it to Anton, who in turn sets up Peter! And the Stastny trio is off and running as they strike, and the fans of Quebec City roar in huge cheers and approval as the Nords were going to beat the Whalers 6-5. What followed was an assist and a win over the Bruins. But then a 3-game losing streak followed. After a tight loss to the Pens, they lost 4-2 to last year's Stanley Cup runners-up, the Minnesota North Stars. Peter had a goal, however. Then they lost 4-2 to Gilbert Perreault and the Buffalo Sabres. Peter in on both goals, however, with 2 assists. Then he went pointless in a 6-4 win against the Leafs. But Peter was rolling up 2s, however, once again. 2 goals in a 6-3 win over the Canucks, then 2 assists in a 6-3 win over the crappy Caps. Either way, the Nords have won 3 in a row, but that came to an end in a loss to a team that beat them out of the playoffs last season, the Flyers. Peter still had an assist. Then, it was against the dead thing Red Wings, and Peter soared with an epic game. 2 goals, an assist, 3 points. The goals were a power play marker and an amazing solo effort that made Gilles Gilbert contemplate retirement. Well, okay, he'd still be around another year, but still a great play. His assist, however, was to brother Marian. The Nords won 8-3, and Peter was named 3rd star of the game only because Cloutier had a hat trick and 5 overall points, and Jacques Richard had 4 points himself. Either way, that's a nice tune-up win for Quebec. Then the Nords, well, they hit the road, and it began with a game against Los Angeles in La La Land. The Kings are coming off perhaps their best regular season ever, but collapsed in the playoffs. They were headed up by the Triple Crown line of Marcel Dion and Dave Taylor. However, the third of that line, Charlie Simmer, is still injured as he was last season, and sophomore defenseman Larry Murphy, but they also had an all-star goalie Mario Lassard. This could be an entertaining game. The game is underway, both teams getting a little nasty with each other. The Nords get some good chances early on, but it wasn't until the midway point of the first period that things would get going. When Lacroix gets the puck out ahead to Peter Stastny, going in on Lassard, he scores! A beautiful goal, and the Nords are up 1-0, garnering some momentum. Quebec keeps the pressure up, however, while LA can't seem to get anything going. The first period begins to wind down. Rochefort clears the puck away into the stick of Anton. He sees Big Bro Pete, and Pete scores! That's right, making it 2-0 with 55 seconds left in the period. Our hero already with 2 goals. Quebec would take that 2-0 lead in the first intermission. The game got wild in the second. The Nords were up 3-1, but LA ended up tying it. But just after the midway point, on a power play of their own, Pichek controls over to Cloutier, who puts at the right spot for Peter Stastny. A hat trick for our hero, his first this season. Remarkable. And that puts the Nordiques up 4-3 as Peter's off to a red-hot start this season. The game continued to be wild, and the Nords went up 5-3 and led 5-4 after 2. But the Kings went up 6-5 in the third. Quebec tied it, but the Kings then got 2, led 8-6 as time was winding down. Quebec is pressuring hard, and persistence pays off as Peter begins. Marian continues, setting it up for Real Cloutier. 1:41 left to play. The Nordiques pull themselves within a goal. Peter gets his 4th point of the evening, but they couldn't get the equalizer. They would lose 8-7. But for his hat trick and 4-point night, he was actually named 1st star of the game. Once again, shining really bright. The next game, Peter had an assist over the Rockies in a 3-1 win, but the now very powerful Oilers destroyed the Nordiques 11-4. Peter, however, had 2 assists. Still, 20 points in 13 games to start the year. Pretty damn good. To begin November, Peter and his boys had a 4-game homestand. First, a huge win over the powerful Habs, 5-4. Peter with 2 helpers. The first came when the Nords were down 2-0 in the first, and he assisted one to brother Anton. The Nordiques were down 4-1. They cut the gap to 4-3 in the third. Then Peter set up brother Marian to tie up 4-4 on the way to the big comeback win that sent fans into a frenzy. Then they dominated Bernie Federico and a very disappointing St. Louis Blues team 6-2. Monster game for Peter, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4-point night, and named the 1st star of the game. But then they were embarrassed by the Bruins 10-1. Peter had a bad game and was a -3. He was down but not out, as he had a goal and assist in a 5-3 win over Detroit. So in the homestand, he had 3 goals, 5 assists for 8 points, 2 points a game. Then it was a mini 3-game road trip, but it didn't bode well. 2 straight losses to Vancouver and Calgary, Peter with a goal and a ladder, and then it was a tie with the Stars. And how was this for a special night? The Nordiques stunned the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion New York Islanders 7-2. Peter, his bros, and Goulet, Hunter, and Hamel all played a beauty. Peter had a goal and a helper in this monumental win. Then the Nords continued to roll against division rivals in big games. First a tight 1-1 tie with the Habs. Then he had an assist in a 7-3 win over the Whalers, and then sweet revenge on Boston. Peter with 4 assists in a 6-1 thrashing in Boston Garden, and he was named 2nd star of that game. That win put the Nordiques unbeaten in 5, but they were stunned 7-1 by the Penguins, Peter with a lone goal. Then they had to settle for a tie with Hartford 3-3, our hero with an assist. And then it was a home-and-home with the Rangers, led by Mike Rogers and Ron Duguay. First at home, 7-4 win by the Nords. Peter with a beauty of a game. 3 assists, 1 each to Lacroix, Tardif, and brother Anton. Peter then went pointless in a 4-4 tie against the Rangers in New York to end the month. Still, 21 points in 15 games. Peter was on a roll, but he's also -9, which some actually pointed out. Peter squared off against the Great Gretzky and the Oilers at home, and they were facing one of the hottest teams in the league. The Oilers led 3-2 at the end of one period, but the Stastny trio, Peter to Anton to Marian, tied the game. Then Marian set up Peter for a goal to get them a 4-3 lead. The Oilers would tie, but then Peter sets up Anton on a power play. And then Peter gets his second goal of the game. 4 points in 1 period, 2 goals, 2 assists. And the Oilers going to win a 9-8 thriller. Gretzky had 2 assists and was a -2 as Peter wins this showdown. You'd think a win like that would give the Nordiques momentum, but you'd actually be wrong. They went on a 5-game winless streak. Yet in those 5 games, Stastny had 3 goals, 10 assists for 13 points, 2.6 points a game. But he was also a -8, 2 assists in a 5-3 loss to Boston, 1 goal, 2 uppers for 3 points against the Flames, team now with Lanny McDonald, who beat Nordiques 7-4. Then in on all 4 goals, with a notch and 3 apples for 4 points and 6-4 loss to the Blues. Then 2 assists in a 4-4 tie with the Sabres, then a goal and an assist, a 10-7 loss with the Islanders getting their revenge. But then a 3-game win streak followed. First, it was a goal and an assist in a win over the Red Wings, 3-2. He assisted on a goal to Anton, and his own goal came with 4:33 left on the power play, tying the game. Then they stunned division rivals Buffalo 7-3 at home. Stastny with another goal and a helper, and then a goal and a huge 5-2 win over the Habs. The win streak would come to an end against the Habs on the road, but they were back home to end the calendar year of 1981 in a game against the Chicago Blackhawks, a team loaded with talent such as Denis Savard, Doug Wilson, and legendary goaltender Tony Esposito, but a team that's also very inconsistent. And it didn't take long at all for our hero to strike, just 58 seconds in. Pichette gets the puck to Peter, who makes a setup to Alain Cote to give the Nords the upper hand early on. And you just sense that in that arena, it's going to be a big night. And indeed, Peter's brother Marian, who is having a superb rookie season, scores his 20th of the year and it's 2-0 after 1. But then just 1 minute into the second, Peter begins to play. He gets the stick of Marois, who puts on goal for Michel Goulet. It's 3-0 Quebec, and Peter has his second point of the game. Goulet would then score another on a power play marker, but with just under 8 minutes to play in the period. Pichette sees open Stastny. He goes in on goal. Tonio don't stand a chance. Peter scores his first goal of the game and his 3rd point. And Nordiques make it 5-0. Then a Cloutier goal made it 6-0, but then 48 seconds later on a power play. The Hawks can't clear it out. Now Marian has it. He sets it up perfectly for Peter. His 2nd goal of the game, 25th of the season. Wow. His 4th point of the game. The Nordiques are just destroying the Hawks here, and it's 7-0, and it remains that way after 2 periods. And then just 23 seconds into the next period on a power play, it's Cloutier, it's Peter, it's Goulet who scores. 5 points for our hero on this one. The Nordiques lead it 8-0. This is just crazy. The Hawks did break the shutout, but it mattered not. The Nordiques win it 8-1. Another beautiful outing from Peter Stastny. 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points, and a +3. And he was named 2nd star of the game behind Goulet, who did indeed get his first career NHL hat trick. Either way, this team has a lot of power when it comes to goals. Can they keep the momentum going as we hit the new year of 1982? Indeed, January was quite epic on its own. On January 2nd, he began the month with an assist in a win over division rivals Buffalo, 2 assists in a 3-0 win over the Capitals, and he went pointless in a 6-1 win over the Bruins and a 6-2 win over the Whalers, but he did have a goal and 2 uppers for 3 points in a 4-2 win over the Blues and was named first star of the game. And the Nords have now won 6 in a row, starting with that win over the Blackhawks to end the year. But the streak came to an end, and our hero was pointless against the Stars. Then, a wild outing with the Winnipeg Jets on the road, winning 7-5. Our hero was on fire. A goal, 3 assists, 4 points. His named 2nd star of the game. His brother Marian had a 5-point night. He had an assist in a 2-2 tie with Philly, and an apple in the loss to Hartford. Then it was a home-and-home with Buffalo. 2 goals and a 5-3 loss where he was named 3rd star of the game, and a goal and assist in a 3-2 loss at home, named 3rd star again. Then an assist in an embarrassing 8-3 loss at home to the Habs. Then an assist in a 2-2 tie with Toronto. And a goal and assist in a 4-4 tie with Hartford as Quebec ends the month on a rough 7-game winless streak. Peter, however, does shine bright through the month. 6 goals, 14 assists for 20 points in 14 games and a +2. However, in February, our hero was helping his boys get things going again. The rickety Rockies actually put up a good fight, but Peter had 2 goals and assists for 3 points in a thrilling 8-7 win. Then he had 2 assists in a thrilling 4-3 win over the Flyers at home. Then on February 7th, he had a goal and a helper in a 5-5 tie with the Caps. But now it was time for a break. And that is the NHL All-Star break, of course. As for the NHL All-Star Game, Peter is once again selected for the 2nd straight season to represent his Quebec Nordiques. This year, however, he's not going alone. Veteran Mark Tardif plays in his first NHL All-Star Game after playing in 6 straight All-Star Games in the WHA. The game took place on February 9, 1982 at the Capitol Center just outside of Washington. With the score tied 1-1 in the second period, Peter Stastny begins a play that leads to the stick up Bruins star Rick Middleton, who sits up for Mark Tardif. And the Wales Conference go up 2-1 en route to a 4-2 win, Peter getting an assist in this whole game. But then it was back to business in the NHL as they faced a very disappointing Kings team at this point. And they had to settle, however, for a 4-4 tie. But then they lost 9-2 to the Rockies in 1980. Oh, who am I kidding? Any year you lose without Rockies isn't good. Anyway, Peter had an assist. Then he scored his 35th goal of the season, however, in a 5-2 loss to the Rangers. Nords really not looking good after the All-Star break here. But then in a big 7-3 win over the Jets, Peter had 4 assists, and with those 4 apples, he has now reached his 2nd straight 100-point season as he had 99 going into the game. It now has 103, and at this point, is tied for 2nd in the NHL in scoring with future Hall of Famer Mike Bossy of the New York Islanders. Yeah, let's face facts, nobody's beaten Gretzky for the scoring title, but to be 2nd to him would still be one hell of an accomplishment. In Winnipeg, he had an assist in a 4-4 tie, a goal and assist in a 5-3 loss to Chicago, then scored a huge 4-3 win against the Habs at home, which brings it to a personal best 18-game point streak. Were you noticing this whole time? Were you paying attention? Yes, indeed. This is a new personal best, beating his mark of 16 in his rookie year. In this span, he had 11 goals, 22 assists for 33 points, 1.8 points per game. It was a +1. Despite the Nords being sluggish as of late, Peter the Great has delivered in aces. The point streak came to an end in a 4-4 tie with the Habs. But he indeed ends the month strong with 3 assists and a 5-5 tie with the 2-time defending Cup champion Islanders. That also gives him a huge 110 points, passing his rookie mark of 109. This is 1 each to brothers Anton and Marian, as well as Michel Goulet. The Nords are in 4th, but Hartford is really no threat in last in the Adams. But they are just 5 points back at Boston for 3rd and 7 points back at the Sabres for 2nd, so anything can happen as the Habs are in 1st with 86 points. And there's still 15 games to go. But in March, the Nordiques go 2-7-3. They did clinch their postseason berth, and Peter had some fantastic games, but also had some rough ones. He started the month of March out very well, with a goal and 2 assists for 3 points and a 5-5 tie with the Kings. Peter then had a goal and a helper and a huge 6-4 win over the powerful Oilers. After an assist and a loss to the Pens, again going pointless against Calgary, he scored his 40th and 41st goal of the season, giving him a career best, outdoing his 39 goals from his rookie season. He added assists for a big 4-point night, but it was a 7-5 loss. Ay. He was still named 2nd star. Then he went pointless against Toronto. Then he had a goal and a helper against Vancouver. The assist going to brother Marian to tie the game with 2:16 to play. Then he had 2 assists and a 5-4 loss to Boston. Then he had an assist each in a tie with the Whalers and a loss to the Habs, and overall didn't play well. Ending the month with 2 assists over Buffalo, but the Nordiques were winless in 7. Overall in March, he did have 5 goals, 14 assists, 19 points in 12 games. Very good, but it was a bad -8. But it's not entirely on him, that's for sure. As a matter of fact, the Nordiques have allowed the 8th most goals this season to boot, despite having a good goaltender. Either way, there's still 3 games left to play, and Peter is chasing a record. Now, remember I said in part 1 that the European influence on the NHL, wow, very much there, has not quite hit full throttle yet. Peter currently sits at 129 points, which at the time was 2nd best all time among European players. Stastny, of course, had the 3rd best with his 109 points in his rookie season. But now he is only 2 points behind superstar from Sweden, Kent Nilsson of the Flames, who had 131 the year prior in 1980-81. With 3 games left, there's very much faith that Peter can do it, so let's see. So on April 1st, 1982, the Nordiques traveled to Boston to face a good Bruins team. Certainly Peter and the Nordiques have their work cut out for them, but want to give themselves momentum going into the postseason and don't want to settle for what little they can get. And the team got off to a good start. Goulet scored nearly 2 minutes in on a power play. Nearly 2 minutes later, Marian Stastny gets the puck, point to Rochefer, who puts it on goal for Peter, who puts it in the net and gives the Nordiques a 2-0 lead. Quebec was still protecting their lead, and just past the midway point, Cloutier gets the puck to Richard David, who sets up Peter Stastny. Already his second goal of the game and gives his team a big 3-0 lead. It actually ends the night for Bruins goalie Marco Barron, and 16-year veteran Rogie Vachon comes in playing one of his final games. But not even 2 minutes later, Peter to Marian to Elingote, and there it is! His third point of the game already, and now he is the NHL record holder for points in a season by a European player, now with 132, but his night's not quite done. Just over 2 minutes later, deja vu, a Peter, a to Marian, to Gote, and the Nords are just putting the boots, or skates shall we say, to the Bruins, and Peter has 4 points. But hold on, next draw, Marian controls. He gets it to Peter, who sets it up for Gote, who gets his first career hat trick, and Nordiques leads 6-0 after 1 period. He already has 5 points. This is ridiculous. He's having an epic night, and the game is only a third over. The Bruins did get 2 back, however, in the second period, and time was starting to wind down in the frame. We went on a power play, and Oben Peter gets the puck, sets it up for brother Anton. 6 points on the night, and giving the Nordiques a 7-2 lead. This is truly remarkable. Peter's playing on a whole other planet, it seems. Quebec led 7-3 after 2 periods. Then 3:08 into the third. Marian has the puck. He finds open Peter, who fools Rogie Vachon, and Peter gets his 45th goal this season, giving himself his second hat trick of the year. 7 points in 1 game. Wow. The Bruins did get a few more back, but it didn't matter. The Nordiques win 8-5. Count it up. 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points, a +4. I mean, this guy just had 8 points in the game last year and 7 now this year. It's crazy how he keeps having these amazing games. Peter is truly showing he's among the NHL's best. He was by far named the first star of the game. Cote was named second star, will be his first and only career hat trick. While Peter's older bro, Marian, had 5 assists and was a +3 and named third star. But the Nordiques would actually lose to Boston back at home after this, and Peter was pointless. But the Nordiques ended the season very strong in a 7-4 victory over Buffalo. Peter had another beauty. Goal, 2 helpers, 3 points. Ending his record-setting year for European-born players with 139 points. He would hold the record for European players' points in the season for 14 years until it was broke by Jaromir Jagr. And even today, as of 2026, Peter's mark is still the 3rd best of all time for a single season by a European player. The Quebec Nordiques finished 33, 31, and 16. Their first winning season in their short NHL history, now in their 3rd season in the league. And of course, that totals 82 points. 4th place in the Adams division. They have made it back to the spring as we are ready for playoff time. And oh boy, it's Chapter 1 of the Battle of Quebec, Playoff Edition. Standing in the way of the Quebec Nordiques are the Montreal Canadiens. The Habs are looking to reclaim the throne they last sat atop on in 1979. They had a tremendous season, finishing with 46 wins, 17 losses, and 17 ties for 109 points. First place, of course, in the Adams division, and 3rd best record in the entire NHL. Led by new head coach Bob Berry, the Habs had depth at the wazoo. Offensive prowess up front, as they scored the 3rd most goals in the league and gave up the least goals in the league. With a tremendous defense and excellent goaltending. They had a good power play, 9th best in the league, and a 5th best penalty kill. The Nords matched up this way as they scored the 4th most goals in the league, only 4 less than Montreal, but gave up the 8th most, as mentioned earlier. Their power play was 3rd in the league, and their penalty kill was a decent 9th. Special teams could be a factor in this series. This season series, however, was dead even at 3, 3, and 2 each. But the Habs are still the heavy favorite. It's easy to see why with all this playoff experience. The Habs' big breakout star this year was Keith Acton, a little warrior who played a fearless style that fit into the Habs' strategy. He led his team in scoring with 36 goals, 52 assists for 88 points. He was great in the faceoff circle, fighting for puck possession and could get under the skin of opposing forwards. He was an incredible +47, which was 10th best in the league. He became very popular among fans of Montreal. He got 3 votes for the Selke Trophy as top defensive forward. And of course, the icon, Le Blondillon, the flower, Guy Lafleur. He had injury issues the last couple seasons, missing 14 games in this one. but still showed that grace and finesse in the 66 games he did play. Still very productive, with 27 goals, 57 assists for 84 points, and an excellent plus 32. LaFleur also brings 5 Stanley Cup rings, a consummate trophy winner as playoff MVP in 77, and brings a total of 104 games playoff experience with 125 points. He also got 5 votes to the Lady Byng Trophy for excellence in sportsmanship. The Habs also still had one of the best defensive forwards to ever play the game, and that was Bob Gainey. He's a premier checker in the game and made life hell for opposing forwards. He's a master of endurance, getting a lot of ice time, and able to work all ends of the ice without getting worn out. This is also his first season as Habs captain, and his leadership qualities were respected and admired. His numbers were still good, 21 goals, 24 assists for 45 points, and a very good plus 36. Now, he had won the Selke Trophy the first 4 seasons in his existence, but his streak came to an end this year, but he still came in second in voting. He ranks 82 games of playoff experience total, and has 4 Stanley Cup rings, was playoff MVP in 79. The Habs had 8 20-goal scorers among them. Along with these 3, Mark Napier led the team with 40. Pierre Mondu, Mario Tremblay, and the great Steve Shutt had over 30. And another 2-way specialist, Doug Jarvis, also reached 20. Doug Riseborough at toughness, Dale's brother Mark Hunter had some grit, and new fan favorite enforcer Chris Nyland sees postseason action. Now to the defense, which is tops in the league. It's hard to pick out the players to highlight on this Habs club, but I'll go with Brian Engblom this time, because what an incredible season he had. He was a plus 78, just second best in the league, just 2 marks behind Gretzky. And he led the league in defensive point shares for the second straight year with a 7.9 rating. He's also 9th in total goals on ice for 167 and added 33 points. He wasn't afraid to use his size to assert his traditional style and was great at getting the puck out of the zone. He came in 6th in Norris Trophy voting, which some felt he was shortchanged, but he did get rewarded as a second-team All-Star this year. Now, joining him, of course, was young gun Rod Langway, who's emerging as one of the best in the league. But, of course, Larry Robinson, a future Hall of Famer, had another great year, plus 56, 5th in Norris Trophy voting, 5 Stanley Cup rings, 99 playoff games, 69 points, and a plus 70 playoff MVP in 78. And rounding out the core, the youngsters Gaston Gindra, as well as Bill Kitchen and Robert Picard. And lastly, in goal, they go with the rookie, Rick Wamsley, a lightning-quick goaltender with tremendous reflexes, a thinking man's netminder. He did have an amazing year, finished with an incredible record of 23-7-7. He was tied for 8th in wins. His 2.75 goals against average, only second behind teammate Denis Aaron. His .893 save percentage was 7th, and he had 2 shutouts, tied for second. And he and Aaron were the first goalies to ever win the Jennings Trophy for least goals allowed. He came in 6th in Calder Trophy voting as top rookie and 5th in Vezina Trophy voting as top goaltender. Well, let's see what our hero and his boys can do. What will be a storied series? Game 1 of the Montreal Forum, you can feel the tense atmosphere, but the Habs defense is eating the Nordiques alive, and our hero is doing all he could, but unable to connect on anything. The Habs led 3-0 after 2. Then they made it 5-0, but then it's Peter to Marian to Anton. The Stastny trio strikes, but of course it's too late, and they lose 5-1. Bad news. Peter has suffered a pretty bad kidney injury. He's out for the rest of the series. Yeah, there's a bit of trivia for you. Peter only played 1 game in the first Battle of Quebec playoff series. With the dominant Habs win and Peter out of action, everyone thought the Nordiques were cooked. It wasn't the case, however. Dan Bouchard put on a show in net games too, and they stung the Habs 3-2. Back home at Le Colisée, 2 goals from Dale Hunter, and another great game from Bouchard, and give the Nords a 2-1 win. And they lead the series 2-1. They had the Habs on the verge of elimination. However, in a game that saw 250 combined penalty minutes, the Nords were humiliated 6-2, so we're going to a 5th and deciding game in Montreal. In Game 5, brother Anton had a goal and assist, giving Quebec a 2-0 lead after 2 periods. The Habs fought the tie and sent it to overtime. But just 22 seconds in, Dale Hunter scores a bizarre goal, and the Quebec Nordiques win their first ever playoff series in their NHL history, pulling off a huge upset that will no doubt intensify this rivalry. Again, Peter only played 1 game and assisted on a lone goal, but fear not, because he's perfectly healthy for the next round. And now, it's not about to get any easier, however, as for the Adams Division final, they will square off against the big bad Boston Bruins. Always a top contender, but haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1972. They have played in 3 finals since. Now coached by their former legendary goaltender Jerry Cheevers, the team has maintained that never-say-die mentality and tough focus. They finished the year with a record of 43, 27, and 10 for an excellent 96 points, and in a best-of-5 series down Buffalo in 4. They scored an impressive 9th most goals in the league and gave up the 4th least. Their power play was a passable 12th, and their penalty kill was 3rd best in the league. Much like the Habs, the season series was dead even, 4-4-0. They went against each other. So now people are starting to believe the Nords are for real. Let's see, however, who stands in their way on this Bruins club. Leading the way is the grossly underrated Rick Middleton, who often gets overlooked when it comes to great players of this era. An elite puck handler who can work well in tight spaces, with deceptive quickness, and creative goal scorer with playmaking skills and defensive abilities as well. Counted out 51 goals, 7th best in the league, adding 43 assists for 94 points. A good plus 15, he checks all the boxes. 5th in power play goals with 19, 10th in even strength goals with 31, 4th in game-winning goals with 9. He's 1st in the league in shooting percentage with a 25.2, and he was 10th in offensive point shares with a 7.0. Also, he came in 8th in Hart Trophy voting as league MVP, and he won the Lady Byng Trophy. A huge accomplishment for the first time, was a second-team All-Star. And they have a new red-hot rookie as well. Barry Peterson had a tremendous debut season. He had 44 goals, 48 assists for 92 points to a very good plus 27. He was second in the league in rookie scoring and runner-up, coming in second for the Calder Trophy. His 7 game winners were 6th best, and his 4 shorthanded goals were tied for 4th. And he got a single vote for the Lady Byng Trophy. A beautiful right-handed shot and can make those big plays. And there was another young forward making waves in the Bruins, sophomore two-way specialist Steve Kasper. The reason for their amazing penalty kill, he was just amazing. And to take on the toughest power play, he could stand in the way big time of the Nordiques' demand advantage because he knew how to handle everything. He can win key faceoffs, battle along the boards, and despite his small stature, even the big man had trouble wrestling the puck away from him. He had 20 goals, 31 assists for 51 points, and he ended Bob Gainey's 4-year streak, becoming just the second player in NHL history at the time to win the Selke Trophy as the league's top defensive forward. The Bruins had quite a bit of forward depth. Peter McNabb reached 20-plus goals for the 8th straight year and scored 36 this season. Keith Crowder had an excellent year, and tech-guy veteran Terry O'Reilly was still producing. Rounding out the forward core, youngsters Tom Fergus, Normand Levier, and fan favorite Stan Jonathan, and team captain, playoff veteran of 130 games, 5 cup finals, and winner of 2 cups, Wayne Cashman. But you know who's leading the defense, and that's third season sensation, Raymond Bourque. Even this early in his career, he could already make great passes and stats for goals, was a tremendous skater, and an accurate shot. But he could also play the tactical and defensive side of the game, with good positioning and stick checking. He did have to deal with injuries during the season, missing 15 games, but he still scored 17 goals, 49 assists for 66 points in 65 games. He's also a very good plus 21. He had an amazing year overall, and he was the runner-up, coming in second for Norris Trophy voting as top defenseman. He is also a first-team All-Star for the second time in 3 seasons. Joining him was seasoned vet, one of the all-time greats, Brad Park. Has 132 games of playoff experience, 107 points, 3 Cup Finals appearances, but he's still looking for that first ring. Another Brad, youngster Brad McCrimmon, has become a welcome presence on the Bruins' blue line. Also, Maniac Mike Milbury is present, Mike O'Connell, Larry Melnick, and Randy Hillier rounded out. Now to the goalie, and the Bruins go with Mike Moffat. Okay, well, I'm not sure if Marco Barron, their starter that year, was hurt or not. I tried to research heavily, and I couldn't find anything. But Moffat only has 2 games of NHL regular season experience, and, well, he did win both of them. Had an even 3 goals against average, and a save percentage of .882. But in the opening round against Buffalo, he played pretty well. It just seems like a weird decision considering 16-year veteran, winner of 2 Stanley Cups and 23 playoff games, Rogie Vachon, is still on the team in his final season. Well, either way, here we go. Game 1 in front of a ruckus crowd at Boston Garden, and Peter Stastny is back, healthy and ready. But it was going to be a difficult night for him. He was heavily contained by the Bruins grinders and to get to make too many chances. The game was tied 2-2 after 1 period, and after the second, the Nordiques took a 3-2 lead on a goal from Cloutier, but the Bruins immediately responded. The game winner then came from Bourque with 55 seconds left in regulation, a tough Game 1 loss, and a heartbreaker. Peter is eager to emerge. Game 2, it still wasn't good. Peter didn't necessarily play terrible, but he didn't play great. The game again was tied 2-2 after 2, but the Bruins led 5-2 and went on to win 8-4. And they now lead the series 2-0. And Peter isn't really being criticized at all, to be honest. Some just feel he may have come back too soon and wasn't fully healed up. And some feel that the Nordiques' luck has run out. If he has anything left, he needs to step up. Game 3, we do shoot the La Belle Province, and the Bruins lead 1-0 early on, and the Nords seem just very lethargic. However, cue the Stastny trio. Marian to Peter, and sets it up for Anton, sending the arena into a frenzy, and the game is tied 1-1 after 1. It was 2-2 after 2, and after 3, we are going to OT. It's tense. The Nords can't afford to go down 3-0 in this series. They might as well kiss it goodbye if that happens. 11:44 in. Peter breaks up with Anton. He can't get it, but Will Paymont does. And the Nordiques are in this thing, showing the series 2-1. Peter playing up beauty here with 2 assists and showing more determination. Game 4. Cue the trio. Peter, check. Anton, check. Marian, check. Mate. Quebec strikes first, and 34 seconds later, they make it 2-0. That's how it stays after one period. They made it 3-0 in the second, then on a power play, Peter controls it, sees brother Marian, who gives it to Goulet, who puts it home 4-0. Quebec is dominating, leads 6-1 after 2. Then just 2.5 minutes into the third period, the Nordiques are, yes, on a power play. The Bruins can't clear it out, and it lands on Peter's stick, and he scores a beauty, his first goal of the playoffs. It's 7-1 they lead, and they win it 7-2, and just like that, they're a whole new team. The series is tied 2-2. Peter is on fire. There's no questions about his health now. 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. Oh, man. Game 5, we are back in Beantown, and Quebec is not showing any intimidation, and the heat is on. Just 2:08 in on a power play. Here they go again. Anton over to Peter, who gets it to Marian. 1-0. The Bruins, however, tie it just 29 seconds later. However, man alive, can this trio be stopped? Anton to Marian to Peter. He scores, and it's 2-1 Quebec after 1. Then they carried a 3-2 lead into the third. And then 3:02 into the third period, Andre Dupont clears the puck out to an open Peter Stastny, going in on Moffat. He shoots and scores. They lead 4-1. Peter has his second goal and third point of the game. The Bruins are to get within 1, but the Nordiques hang on 4-3 and have a 3-2 series lead and are putting the Bruins on the verge of elimination. Is this really happening? Peter has been a beast in 3 straight wins with 8 points. Oh my goodness. And the heaping of praise on him from the media is well deserved. He is leading by example and production. But they still have a series to win. And it's back at Le Colisée for Game 6. The adrenaline pumping among the fans in that arena is incredible as they're ready to see their boys pull off another big upset. But they were silenced quick. The Bruins lead 3-0 just 8:44 in. But 1:10 later, Peter took it upon himself to finally get his team going. So did his brothers on a power play. Tick, Anton, tack, Marian, and toe Peter. He scores to wake things up a bit, but they still trail 3-1 after 1. Then they trail 5-2 in the second, and this time it's Marian to Peter to Paymont. And the Nordiques get within 2 and trail 5-4 after 2. Goulet tied the game in the third period, and we're up to overtime and nearly 11 minutes in. Peter McNabb ties the series to the Bruins. It's now a 3-3 draw. Peter again played incredibly well, scoring key goals to get his boys motivated, but in the end it wasn't their night. Now we are headed to a 7th and deciding game in Boston. Game 7, the tense atmosphere in the Garden is giving everyone chills. Can the Nords do it? It was scoreless in the first period. Both teams playing determined hockey, doing everything they can to strike first. It was finally near the midway point of the second. We're on a power play that's being controlled by Paymon, who gets it to Peter, who sees Goulet. He gets the goal, and the Nords are on the board first. But the Bruins tie it not too long after. It's 1-1 after 2. The heat in the Garden is growing as both teams look for the go-ahead marker, and Peter remains focused and ready to take chances. But then, on a power play, Peter steers. Marian takes the wheel, but it's Pachet who parks it. 2-1, Quebec leads. Can it happen? Bouchard is facing a ton of pressure as he tries to hold his team in there. The clock is ticking down. 1 minute to go. 1 minute. The Nords keep clearing it out, but the Bruins won't give up. 30 seconds, another big chance, but Bouchard is there. 10 seconds. Can you really believe this is happening? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Peter Stastny and the Quebec Nordiques have shocked the Boston Bruins in 7 games, 4-3. Peter's setting up both goals, another huge game, and capping off this epic series. The fans at the Garden are in stunned silence. This Nordiques team that nobody really expected a lot from is now going to the Wales Conference Final for the first time in their short history as this miracle run continues. And Peter Stastny, what a series! He truly delivered. 4 goals, 8 assists, 12 points, leading the whole series in scoring. 1.7 points per game and a big +5. There were questions about his health in those first 2 games still, but he exploded and delivered this huge upset for his team. And this uncanny chemistry with his brothers and will to win and dedication, he's brought this Cinderella team even further. 4 possible wins away from actually going to the Stanley Cup as they head to the Wales Conference Final, and oh boy. Yep, in their way, the Patrick Division champions and, oh yeah, 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions, the New York Islanders. Well, despite barely getting by upstart Pittsburgh in the 5th and deciding game of the first round and having to fight off their hated rivals, the Rangers, in 6, they're here once again. They finished the season with an insane record of 54 wins, 16 losses, and 10 ties for 118 points. Yeah, it's only the best record in the NHL. Second most goals scored in the league, second least goals allowed, best power play in the league, 4th best penalty kill. Man alive, head coach Al Arbor has built a close to flawless system as you can get. But again, the season series was tied. 1-1 in the 3 meetings they had. This gave faith to the fans of the Nordiques. They pulled off 2 upsets. But even as great as the Habs and Bruins were this year, this is the Islanders. And this could be perhaps the biggest playoff upset in NHL history if they can pull this off. Well, let's take a look once again at what the Nordiques are up against. And it's a lot. And the man who has been on another planet this year leads the way. Sensational super sniper Mike Bossy. In just his 5th season, has already established himself as one of the NHL's all-time greats. Truly remarkable season. 64 goals, which is 2nd best in the league. 83 assists, 4th best, for a point total of 147 points. That was 2nd best as well. His +69, 4th best. 2nd in even strength goals with 47. His 17 power play markers were 10th. His 10 games winners were 2nd. He was a master in the clutch, 4th in total goals on ice for with 178. 2nd in offensive point shares with a 10.9. He was a finalist for the Hart Trophy as league MVP, coming in 3rd. He was also a finalist for the Lady Byng Trophy, coming in 2nd. He's a first-team All-Star for the 2nd straight season, and so far, he has 12 points in 11 playoff games. And of course, you've got Bryan Trottier, the man who was all heart the way he played the game, a fantastic playmaker with shutdown abilities, with strength, smarts, and leadership. Another epic season, reaching 50 goals for the first time, which is 8th best in the league, 79 assists, 5th best, and 129 points, also 5th best. His +70 was 3rd best. He was 7th in power play goals with 18, and 2nd in game winners with 10, along with Bossy. 5th in total goals on ice for with 177, 5th in offensive point shares with an 8.7. 9th in shooting percentage with a 23.0. He was also a finalist for the Hart Trophy, coming in 2nd. He won the award back in 1979. He was also a 2nd-team All-Star this year, and in these playoffs has 16 points in 11 games. Next, we had the impactful Clark Gillies, who, along with Bossy and Trottier, was a man who gave this team a lot of depth, and it was what was built on throughout the 1970s into their Stanley Cup success. A driving force who showed great leadership qualities, had an excellent season, scoring a career best 38 goals, his 6th time reaching the 30-plus goal mark and adding 39 assists for 77 points in 79 games and an excellent +39. In these playoffs, he has 10 points in 11 games and has a big +7. The man, however, who has been an absolute warrior in these playoffs and all through the season for the New York Islanders is John Tonelli. He had a career year at this point. 35 goals, 58 assists for 93 points, career highs all across the board. His +48 was 8th best in the league to boot. A man who could work the boards better than almost anyone in the league, known for his determination of fighting for the puck and maintaining control of things to keep his team at an advantage. This year, for his efforts, he was named a 2nd-team All-Star for the first time and came in 5th in Selke Trophy voting. It was his clutch heroics and spirit, however, that helped the Islanders avoid a huge upset for the Pittsburgh Penguins, as his performance in the 5th and deciding game is still remembered among Islanders fans to this day. And in these playoffs, he has 11 points in 11 games. Then the captain of this squad, the iconic Denis Potvin, the man who began the Isles build all the way back in 1973 and leads the defense. A great combination of physicality and offensive presence, his elite play from the point, tremendous setups, and starting rushes made him a superstar. He did miss 20 games this year due to injury, but in 60 he still scored 24 goals, 37 assists for 61 points, and a +39. He came in 8th for Norris Trophy voting, an award he has won 3 times prior. He has 7 points and is a +2 in these playoffs. Yes, this is what the Nords are dealing with, but guess what, guys? There's even more. The final ingredient that actually put this Islanders dynasty on top was last year's playoff MVP Butch Goring, a two-way centerman who gave that dash of depth that the Islanders needed to become 2-time champions. He did have a bit of a rough season, somewhat, with 15 goals, 17 assists for 32 points in 67 games, but had 5 shorthanders, which is still 3rd best in the league, and is a very smart and master penalty killer. As his defensive play was still recognized, he got 3 votes for the Selke. He keeps getting it done in these playoffs with 7 points and a huge +8 in 11 games. Bob Bourne is another deep presence with amazing instinct, speed, and offensive capabilities. A longtime Islander fan favorite, scored 27 goals, 26 assists for 53 points, and was a plus 26. He too got 3 votes for the Selkie. He has 7 points, 11 games in these playoffs. Then there's a new kid on the block, Brent Sutter. He enters the NHL as a rookie, and he got called up from his junior team late in the season. He joined them, or mid-season I should say. In 43 games, he had 21 goals, 22 assists for 43 points. He was also plus 27, and let me tell you, he has been fantastic. Also, brother Dwayne has been on this team now for 3 seasons and has been a gritty force. Fan favorite clutcher Bob Nystrom is here, as is Anders Keller, Wayne Merrick, and Billy Carroll. The Isles defense deserves more love as Miracle on Ice alum Ken Morrow is a very savvy defenseman. While he does play a traditional stay-at-home style, it isn't a scoring defenseman. He's great at breaking up rushes and is a tremendous clutch player in the playoffs. He's tremendous at positioning, is an impactful presence on the ice with his plus 53 than regular season, which was 7th best in the league. He has 4th in defensive point shares with a 6.1. He also got 5 votes for the Norris Trophy, and so far he's a plus 6 in these playoffs. Also on his blue line core, reliable Mike McEwen, Stefan Persson, who had a very good year, as did Thomas Janssen. And we also have underrated Dave Langevin and Gord Lane. And at last, the man in net, the legend, Batlin Billy Smith. This man isn't good at just stopping the puck. He could play pretty dirty and get downright nasty. It always gives the Islanders an edge. He's become one of the best clutch goalies in the game, and his playoff savvy was just unmatched at this point. This year, he had an incredible record of 32, 9, and 4. He was leading the league in wins. His 2.97 goals against average was 3rd best, 8.98 save percentage was 2nd. He had such a great year. He was the winner of the Vezina Trophy as the league's top goalie. He was a first-team All-Star for the first time. In these playoffs, he's 7-3 with a 2.76 goals against average and 8.94 save percentage. And yes, the Nordiques had to contend with all of this. But Peter and his boys, they have no fear, no intimidation, and here we go. Game 1 at Nassau Coliseum, the Nordiques aren't going to be pushed around, but they are down 2-0 after 2 periods. Finally, the third, however, on a power play, Gaston Therian gets the puck out to Marian, who finds Peter for his 5th goal of these playoffs. The Nordiques cut it to 2-1. But that's as good as it would get. They got overpowered and lost 4-1 as Smith played a huge game in net. Game 2, the Nordiques trailed 2-1. Late in the second period, Peter trying to muster up some momentum. He's pressuring Smith, but keeps getting stymied. But the brotherly trio comes alive. Anton to Marian to Peter. He scores to tie the game. But the Islanders did lead 3-2 after 2, and again they're overpowered in the third and lose 5-2. Peter's playing okay, but they're down 2-0 in this series and pretty much being thumped. Well, Game 3, we're in Quebec City, and the fans still have faith. And so do the Nordiques themselves. Quebec struck first. The Isles tied at 1-1, but just 52 seconds later, power play. Pichette controls and passes to Marian, who gets it to Peter. And the crowd erupts as they lead 2-1, but they get equal again. It's 2-2 after 1. Late in the second, the Isles made it 3-2. Nearly 7 minutes into the third, Peter controls the power play situation and gets the puck to Paymont, who puts it on goal for Anton. And the game is tied again. The Isles took the lead, but Paymont ties it with 5:21 left. It's tied 4-4. And for the first time in the series, we're off to overtime. And what an intense extra frame it is. But the Nordiques can't solve Smith while Bouchard is holding his boys in there. And with 3:08 left in OT, Wayne Merrick wins it for the Islanders. A tough, heartbreaking loss for Peter and the Nordiques. And now find themselves down 3-0 in the series on the verge of being swept. Game 4, however, they're going to try hard to show they're not quitters. But it's bad. You can hear a pin drop at Lake Coliseum in the third period when the Islanders made it 3-0 with just 4:25 remaining. But 31 seconds later, it's Marian, it's Peter, it's Pichette. Hey, they get one, but this is too late. Well, 37 seconds later, Goulet scores, and the arena's roof blows off the place as the Nordiques now trail 3-2, and they hold Bouchard late to try to get an equalizer. They're putting on the pressure in 1 minute to play. 1 minute. The Isles defensive system keeps stopping them. 30 seconds. All the fans are on their feet. They want to see the season to continue. 10 seconds. Come on, boys. 5 seconds. And with 2 seconds left, Dwayne Sutter notches an empty letter. That's that. The Nordiques lose 4-2 and are swept in 4 straight. The Cinderella story has finally hit midnight and turned into the proverbial pumpkin, as a wise man once said. Peter came to play, and his team went out fighting these last couple of games. The Islanders are just too damn good at this point. They, of course, would go on to sweep the upstart Vancouver Canucks in 4 straight to win their 3rd straight Stanley Cup. Nothing to be ashamed of here. Peter did all he could against such a dominant team, led his team in scoring with 3 goals, 2 assists for 5 points, and some -4. But be that as it may, what a wild ride. And take a look at this. Even after the playoffs were over, Peter was still among the scoring leaders, in a 6-way tie for 5th best with 18 points, 7 goals, 11 assists in just 12 games. Truly something to be proud of, as he delivered for this team in this unforgettable run. Another cool thing about this playoff run is people got to see Peter on a more national scale, as media coverage of the Nordiques wasn't all that great, and let's face fact, it's in large part due to the tribalistic nature of the organization, and Peter at least got to show what he could do in front of a much bigger audience. But now let's look back at his amazing season. In this 1981-82 season, his second in the NHL, Peter Stastny scored 46 goals, added 93 assists for an insane 139 points. He played in all 80 games. And of course, this amazing trio of Slovak native brothers, wild fans of Quebec City. As the three of them now together, they're as dangerous as can be. Anton was once again there, like he was in Peter's rookie season last year. He set up Peter for 15 of his 46 goals, nearly a third. Peter returned the favor to Anton for 19, setting up 19 of his 26 goals, all but 7. They collaborated on 12 assists together, meaning 46 total goals they produced. It should be noted that Anton actually missed 12 games this season. But now the leader in assist collaborations is older brother Marian Stastny. 27 times these two teamed up to set up goals. 29% of Peter's assists were indeed with brother Marian. And in total, the two teamed up together for 56 different goals this season. Wow. And Peter assisted on just above half of Marian's 35 goals with 18 helpers, I should point out. He also clicked very well with many others, including Real Cloutier, as well as veteran Marc Tardif. Dave Bichette and Alain Cote also had good chemistry with our hero, and fellow countryman Miroslav Friescher, who defected this year, also knew how to play Peter's style, but he was actually traded to Toronto late in the season for Wilf Paymon. Either way, many players benefited from the presence of Peter the Great this season. Peter's 139 points was third best in the entire NHL. Further emphasis on what is one-of-a-kind season for anyone to have. He finished just 8 points behind Mike Bossy in second, and yeah, you know who was galaxies ahead of everyone in first. But either way, Peter's season showed that he understood the NHL game very well, and added elements of his own unique style that he learned back home to make himself successful. And that included his passing game. Peter's tight passing style seemed to elude defenders in a big way, and it's a big reason why he was second in the entire league with 93 assists. He has become a distinctive playmaker with his style. It's one of the reasons why the Nordiques are emerging and growing as a team, thanks in large part to what he has to offer. Peter was also 7th in the league for total goals on ice for, the grand total of 174. He was only 2 behind Glenn Anderson of the Oilers in 6th, 3 back of Trottier and Bossy, 4 back of Bossy, I should say, in 5th and 4th respectively. Peter was also 7th, though tied for 7th that is, in power play goals on ice for, with 65, tied with Flyers megastar Bill Barber, as he was a driving force behind the Nordiques' successful power play, and he was just 2 behind Rick Kehoe of the Penguins in 6th. And finally, for the second straight season, Peter made the top 10 in offensive point shares, the big number 4 finish, 9.1 rating, only behind Caps All-Star Dennis Maruk, as well as Bossy in second, and of course Gretzky in first. Once again, Peter's showing what an impact player he really is. And now we move to award season. Peter unfortunately barely missed out on being a finalist for the Hart Trophy as League MVP, coming in 4th. There were some who cried foul here, feeling that at the very least he should have been a finalist, not only considering how well he played, but how Quebec has become a plus 500 team under his watch. But regardless, he gets 15 votes. And for the second straight season, he is the winner of the Carling O'Keefe Cup for the most end-of-game 3-star selection points for the Nordiques. What an incredible season. Now, you'd think if he were to have a season, or anyone would have a season like this today, he'd definitely get a ton of accolades. And you know what? He might have even deserved a lot more. But he more than proved what he could do. I mean, he was 3rd in points, 2nd in assists, and top 10 in 3 other categories, totaling 5. He played in an All-Star game, once again for the second straight year, got votes for the Hart Trophy coming in 4th. He had an incredible playoff run, and of course setting the record for most points by a European player in a season with 139. Some feel at the very least, He, again, like I said, should have been a finalist for the Hart, because some analysts actually pointed out that voters went with the quote-unquote safe bet, with Bossi and Trottier being finalists behind Gretzky. And there's others who say Peter should have been a Team All-Star selection. That one I can see some validity to. However, the others do point out, and again it's valid, he was a -10 this season, which is not good. But the thing is, he still led his team to accomplish a lot, and he himself put on many an incredible performance. Be that as it may, it's a year Peter Stastny and Nordiques fans can look back on and be very proud of. And indeed, that does it for part 2 of our look at Peter the Great, Peter Stastny. Can he get this promising Nordiques team further? We'll find out more in the future as this progresses, but until part 3, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, I'll see ya.